Welcome
Good
to the Daily
morning.
Whatever Show. I'm Lawrence Winterman.
I'm Dana Dubois, and that's my best friend.
That's my best friend.
So nice to see you this morning, Lawrence, as
It's good
always.
to see you too, friend. How are you? How was your
You.
weekend?
My weekend was okay. Did something happen this weekend? Something kind of big and nationwide? Because I feel
Hmm.
like something happened that I can't quite remember. I'm of course teasing. It was a great weekend. It was
Yeah.
the No Kings rallies. I know we're going to talk about that. Um, you may see me do this a bit because I got the what are we calling the vaccines now? The jabs. I have what Bill Gates's
Oh
programming.
gosh.
I
Can't we
don't
just
even.
call them vaccines like the good old days?
Yes, yes. I got double vaccinated yesterday. Uh,
Flu and COVID.
flu and COVID, and yeah, my arm is like "Arr," right now, and I'm feeling a little bit like. Bleh. Oh, Lawrence.
Oh,
Cheers. Cheers.
cheers.
Boink. What's in your mug?
Branding.
Oh,
I did the flu, COVID, and the RSV shot, and I needed a day to kind of recover. I definitely had like
yeah.
a vaccine hangover.
Wow, you did all three the same day.
I did. At first I thought they wouldn't let me, but they were like, "Sure, why not?" And I was like, "Okay."
You're a grown-ass adult.
Right.
Make your own
I kind of felt
decisions.
like they were like, "Hey man, just get them all before RFK Jr. makes them illegal." What
Can
else do you want? We got measles and mumps and rubella. We got
right? Can you still get COVID and flu vaccines in Fort Wayne, Indiana?
yes. Yes. So
Good.
things have not changed so drastically.
Oh,
I
good.
personally haven't had any experiences where there's been something that I've wanted or needed that I haven't been able to get. And thank goodness
Yeah.
prep is still available and
Uh,
still being covered 100%. I'm just waiting for that shoe to drop the day when they're like, "Oh yeah, sorry, queer community, no more prep."
sorry about that. My volume was on. Um, yeah, that's probably coming, and I can't even think about how catastrophic that's going to be. It's Monday morning. I'm gonna save all those catastrophic thoughts for another day. And for today, I want to revel a little bit in this weekend and the No Kings rallies and
Yes.
what they meant. I am in the chat here now. I'm going to say hi, all. So I
So,
can read
for
feedback.
people who don't know, we've got Julie Roginsky joining us today. We are incredibly, incredibly excited about that. Julie's in the chat. I saw her join. Hi, Julie. We will pull you in just a minute. Most especially because I want to hear about your experience, Julie, in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, going to the No Kings rally. Um,
Yes.
Here in
I
Fort Wayne, it was a huge turnout. It was easily the biggest of all the rallies so far. I went with my mom, my cute little 84-year-old mother. We set her down in a chair and we just kind of we unfortunately sat across from the Bible people who were preaching that there is a king in America and his name is Jesus.
oh my God.
Which for two Jewish people was maybe not the ideal soundtrack to the entire event, but
At
um
least they weren't preaching that Trump was the king.
yeah,
Jesus and
honestly,
Trump were not like co-kings.
yeah, yeah. Although, yeah, we did. I mentioned this in a note. We saw two people wearing MAGA hats, who were
Right?
standing next to the Jesus people for a little bit. But otherwise, it was great. It was peaceful. It was great weather. Everyone was in a great mood. There were so many good shirts and signs and inflatable frogs and dinosaurs and unicorns. What was it
The
like in Seattle?
axolotls. We saw had a pink axolotl at ours.
Oh yes, axolotls.
Yes, that's a hard word for me to say, but there was one at ours. I went in Seattle. I did not go to the primary location, which was in Seattle Center, right under the Space Needle. I
Mhm.
posted a photo of it over the weekend. I think it might be my most viral note ever. It was just a screenshot I saw on Facebook of the Seattle Center with the Space Needle, and you can see downtown in the background and just a sea of people. I heard it was 90,000 people, and I heard from folks who did go down there that there was no room. You couldn't enter Seattle Center. It was just overflowing into the streets,
Wow.
which is so exciting. I picked one of the many neighborhoods that we have here in North Seattle. I said last week that Seattle is archipelago of neighborhoods in the downtown, not in the downtown core, but in the city proper. So I had my 15-year-old with me. She does not like crowds. And I had my dog with me, Kira. So we went, we picked Ballard. That was the neighborhood we went to. And at the main intersection there's like a little shopping district.
Hmm.
I'm bad at estimating crowd sizes, Lawrence, but I would guess there were 1,000 people maybe. I mean, it was mobbed all four corners of the intersection. And I don't think my video or the photos really capture how packed it was. And I heard this from all over Seattle and their surrounding cities that every single kind of micro rally was also mobbed.
Yeah.
And I know this is a very liberal part of the world. So of course we were going to come out in force, but it exceeded my expectations. They had all the
And
blow up
right.
animals
And we're hearing it from everywhere, right?
everywhere.
Like small town Iowa, like
Yeah.
little towns in Indiana, absolutely every place, blood red places have these
Yes.
reports and pictures of, way more people than anyone would ever expect. It honestly gave me incredible hope for, the fact that we could, I'm pulling Julie in. I just cannot
Yeah.
wait to talk to her. And I know she had concerns about the weekend and potential violence that might happen.
Yeah.
So I'm
And I
excited to
love
talk
that.
to her about the whole thing.
I absolutely love that Julie sought the middle ground, like the swing area of the swing state.
Julie, welcome to
Hi,
the
Hey
Daily
Julie.
Runner
guys,
Show.
good to see you.
Good to
Great to
see
see you
you.
too. Happy post No King's Day.
I know I'm still a little wiped out. Lawrence,
I
you got all these shots on one day? That sounds crazy train.
Well, Dana got the shots. I did mine 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
Dana did
Dana, you
hers
got the
yesterday.
shots.
yeah,
Oh,
I got mine yesterday. I didn't want to do it before the rallies, so that seemed like a bad idea. But I was like, there's never a good time if it's gonna take me down. But thankfully, it hasn't. I'm just
oh
a little
good.
sore.
Good,
Yeah,
good, good.
just a little sore, but still kind of buzzing from this weekend.
Great
Loved
weekend.
Yeah, I loved your coverage. I want to hear more about how you picked Bethlehem.
So, Northampton County, Pennsylvania is the swingiest county in Pennsylvania. And we all know Pennsylvania is the tipping point state
Yeah.
Yeah.
in the country. And so I spent a lot of time in Pennsylvania on weekends anyway. So I said, all right, why don't I go out to Bethlehem, half of which is in Lehigh County, half of which is in Northampton, to see what's going on over there. And I didn't really know what to expect because there are plenty of Trump signs all over. Not in Bethlehem itself, but in the town surrounding Bethlehem. And there is a huge Latino community in Bethlehem, and I'm sure they've been targeted as well. Lehigh University is in Bethlehem, which is a great school. So it's got a little bit of everything, but Northampton runs the gamut from white working class to, as I said, this immigrant community, especially Latino immigrant community. I think also a pretty sizable Asian immigrant community, and some very, very, very affluent um, areas. There's a healthcare system there called St. Luke's, which is considered one of the best in the country. So a lot of, as you can imagine, people who support healthcare, research,
Right.
doctors, all of it. Um, so I said, let's check out what's going on in Bethlehem. Let me get out of my New York City bubble because I knew what was going to happen here. I didn't need to go to Times Square to know it was going to be a mob scene.
Right.
And let's see what's happening in the swingiest county, in the swingiest state in the nation. So I did. My husband and I and my son all went to the rally, and it was just phenomenal. I mean, people were, it was just like a love-in. I don't know how else to say it. Everybody gathered at the Bethlehem Rose Garden, which is this beautiful, I didn't know it existed, this gorgeous, huge rose garden. And then everybody marched down one of the main drags through Bethlehem, and cars it's fascinating. They, I guess, got a permit to walk on sidewalks, but they didn't stop traffic. Well, the sidewalks were so mobbed that they spilled onto the streets. The cops were great about it. Um, Cars that were driving by were honking in support. I didn't see anybody honking in opposition, which is pretty interesting considering, as I said, this is a swing county.
Right.
Um, and it was just great. I mean, it was such a nice, beautiful day from coast to coast. I saw the weather was great where you were, Dana. It was wonderful in the middle of the country, Lauren. So I saw where you were as well. Beautiful here in the East Coast. Just
Mhm.
gorgeous. Just the perfect day for it. And, uh, you know, it wasn't people weren't angry, people were concerned, but it was just like a day of love, and I think for so many people who live like you, Lawrence, in this little red dot, blue
Right.
dot in this red state, right? Or Dana, you and I live in obviously in very blue states. But for people who live in swing states and swing counties where you have neighbors on one side of you who have, hate has no home here signs, and the other sign says, Donald Trump. There's literally a sign that I saw that said, Jesus Christ is my savior and Donald Trump is my president.
Oof.
I've seen that sign.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fucking
It's
gross.
it's it's
To
it's
say
like,
that
I
word.
mean, I'm not Christian, as I know neither of you is, but I'm thinking that's quite a I think Jesus probably would have had to say something about that that was not particularly positive. Uh, so I think for these people, they were just happy to be around others who felt the same way that they did, as I'm
Yeah.
sure you did too, Lawrence, being in a red state. And so that's why we did it out there. And it was just great. I can't say anything more about it other than that it was just a moment to de-stress for the first time I felt like since January. Just,
Yeah.
Right.
I know you were,
you know,
and so I'm in your class, and I want to talk to you about that in
yeah,
a bit. But you know, you were concerned. You were really concerned about the potential for violence, and I thought you had really wise words for everyone in the class about, like, wear an American flag, right? Or dress in red, white, and blue.
yeah,
And, if you feel compelled, if you're Christian and it's your vibe and you feel compelled to bring a Bible, like, just really sort of planning for the optics of if, God forbid, something had gone wrong. Um, eh, could you maybe talk about sort of the place where a very legit concern was coming from, and how are you feeling now that you've
yeah.
seen the positivity?
Well, first of all, I'm pleasantly surprised that things
Same.
did not go, yeah, things did not go awry. I'm also, and not for lack of trying, because if you saw what happened in San Diego, and I'm not sure why it's not covered the way it should be, but if you remember, Midas Touch actually broke the story that the administration was going to um, have a little Marine Corps anniversary demonstration at Camp Pendleton in San Diego County
Right.
on Saturday, coincidentally timed with the No Kings protests. And they were going to be firing munitions, which they did. And Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, said, if you're going to do that, I'm going to shut down 17 miles of the I-5 going from San Diego County up to Orange County. I don't know if people here know that stretch of California freeway, but
Melbourne
it's
That's
says.
incredibly
yeah,
crucial.
yeah. So I mean, it's just packed on a good day. Never mind on a day like on a day like Saturday, and they shut that down. I think they actually shut down the train. I've actually taken that train from San Diego to LA. It's just complete havoc that the Marines decided to do this at the request of Pete Hegseth and JD Vance. And all of these MAGA people were mocking Newsom for shutting down the highway, and this traffic jam is going to be on you, and this is going to be nothing. It's going to be a nothing burger. Well, sure enough, shrapnel fell
On the
on
freeway.
on the freeway, and people on the overhang where people were waiting to get on the freeway and fell on not shrapnel but ordnance. I guess fell on um, people who were guarding the vice president, part of his security detail. So they tried. I mean, they knew what they were doing, but it didn't work out, which is great. Um, but just to prove that Newsom was absolutely right about this, and of course, Vance and Hegseth and that whole crew as always were wrong. But the reason I was concerned about this is I think they're so desperate to invoke the Insurrection Act
Yeah.
that they were looking for an excuse to have violence so that Trump can invoke it. And he is going to invoke it. It's just a matter of time. It's going to be this week, next week, a month from now, 6 months from now, but he's not invoking it.
Right.
So he's just looking for an excuse. And I thought Saturday was going to be the excuse. Maybe they have something else planned. But the media is so just become such a transcription service, I think, a lot of times for this administration that I wanted to make sure that even the media could not miss what was happening, which is just a sea of flags, a sea of Americans, a
Yep.
sea of people who just want their country to go back to being what it is and has been for 249 years, a democracy, right? And nothing more. Not a group of violent anarchists, not a group of whatever they paint Antifa to be, but just regular Americans. I mean, you had Trump coming out and saying this George Soros paid people to be there, and these are all professionally made signs. Like, I've never met George Soros. He never paid me to be there.
We are all waiting for our checks.
I'm waiting for my check. I mean, if George Soros wants to send me a check, I'll take it.
Happily.
But if anybody else wants to send me a check, I'll take it too. But
Yeah.
but nobody paid me. Nobody paid me to be there. I mean, and nobody paid me to make signs, and nobody paid me to march, and nobody paid me to get off my couch on a Saturday on a beautiful day and drive to Pennsylvania, and do this. I just did it because I feel so strongly about this country,
Yeah.
and every single person who was next to me, who were like, this beautiful just quilt of men and women and old and young and middle age and children and black and white and Latino and Asian, like name it. I mean, it was literally what makes America great. And
Yeah.
all of us were there because we feel strongly about the direction that this country is going in, not because anybody was paying us or because we had nothing better to do on a Saturday or because somebody created, signs that they handed us to walk, which I don't know why anybody would do. It was
The
it was
idea
really great.
that they could pay 7 million people across the country to show up and do that and make 7 million really, like, disparate signs. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's absurd.
It's
And
absurd. Yeah.
I shared your concerns, and it was part of the reason we didn't go down to the main rally in Seattle. I had my
Yeah.
daughter with me. I'm thrilled that there was nothing, and I'm still kind of shocked.
Yeah.
I do want to talk for a moment, as much as I don't want to dwell on anything negative to ruin that day. The video, the AI video that it
Is
appears to have
absolutely
come.
disgusting.
I know you work in communications. The White House communications staff apparently released this video. I don't believe that our president knows how to use Midjourney well enough to make an AI video of that caliber. So just for anyone who somehow has managed to miss this, the official Donald Trump account response to the rallies was an AI video of him as a king with a crown on, flying over the protests and literally dumping shit on the protesters.
On Times Square.
On Times Square, thank you.
Yeah.
That was the official response, right? Like, that was not a one-off sharing of somebody else's. I believe. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Julie.
I mean, look, these are not
Like,
serious people. I don't want to quote, I don't really want to quote HBO miniseries, but,
Right.
or TV shows, but they're not serious. They're not serious about this country. They're not serious about their constituents. They're at war with their constituents. And if there's no better evidence of that than this video, I'd love to see it. I mean, could you imagine if Barack Obama or Joe Biden,
Never.
I mean, these are people who are going nuts because Hillary Clinton called some of them deplorable,
Right.
right? And the victimization and, oh my God, how could she? And this is just awful. And writing off, half this country. And this is just awful. And this is terrible. First of all, it's a massive self-own. We don't have kings in this country. If there's one thing that unites the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and the Federalist Papers and the founding theory of this nation, if there's one thing, it's that we don't have kings. Otherwise, we'd still be part of Great Britain.
Right.
Like, what else is there? We don't have kings. We are not subjects. We are citizens. And if we wanted to have kings, we wanted to have somebody crowning themselves, we would still be like, listen, Britain's a great place. I don't, whatever. The difference is we don't have a king. That's really the difference between us and them. I mean, fundamentally, if there's one thing you could think of. And that's one. Of course, here's Trump with a crown, which, who's he trolling? Like the founding fathers? I don't understand who he's trolling.
Right. Right.
And then the second, like dumping shit on his constituents. Yeah, he's been dumping shit on us since the day he came down the golden escalator. If you live in New York, he's been dumping shit on us since the 80s. Like, for those of us who are old enough to remember, broke real estate developer Donald Trump, who had to constantly be bailed out. So, it's just it's a self-own, but it's also, it's not just that. It's also that if you, and this wasn't picked up by the media either, and we did a morning show this morning. Michelle Kinney, Frederick Pogue, and I, we have a morning show every morning at 8 o'clock on Mayday Network. And today became like beat up on the media,
Yeah.
like day. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because nobody's picking up on this.
Right.
But
That was where I'm
to
going to go.
to
Is the
yeah,
media is complicit in normalizing it, right?
completely. And I'll give you another example of that happened over the weekend. Um, Vladimir Putin called up Donald Trump and told him that he would be amenable to having um a summit. And it happened right before Zelensky got here. Zelensky was asking for tomahawks to be sent to Ukraine. Tomahawks would be a massive game changer. Trump was debating sending him tomahawks. Putin calls Trump, yada yada yada. Zelensky's not getting his tomahawks. But as part of the thing that Putin dangled out, is that both he and Trump said, first the Russians announced it and then Trump confirmed it, that they're going to be meeting in Budapest in the coming weeks to talk about an end to this war. What nobody has ever focused on, or at least very few people in the mainstream media focused on, is that Budapest was also the place where the Budapest Memorandum was signed, and that was signed in 1993 between the United States, the United Kingdom, Russia, with Boris Yeltsin as president at the time, and Leonid Kuchma, who was the president of Ukraine, to effectively have Ukraine give up about 1,700 of its nukes, all of its nukes, which it had kept from the Soviet days,
Right.
back
Which
to
which
Russia.
made it at the time the third largest nuclear power.
Third largest nuclear
Yeah.
power. And they were going to give up nukes in exchange for all of these countries, including our own, guaranteeing that its territorial integrity would be kept in place, that
Yeah.
Russia would, or nobody would come for its territory. And Russia was a signatory to that. And of course, in 2014, Russia violated that by first seizing the Crimean Peninsula, and then 3 years ago, the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. So to do this in Budapest is a massive troll. It's a
Yeah.
massive troll of the United States. It's a massive troll of whatever agreement they come up with. It's basically Putin saying, whatever we decide to do will not be worth the paper it's written on, because much like the last Budapest Memorandum, we're going to do what we want to do, and that's taking taking Ukrainian territory. Well, the reason I bring all this up is because the Huffington Post is the only one that picked up on just the trolling that the Russians were doing by suggesting, maybe if it was the Russians who suggested it, to do this in Budapest. And Viktor Orban, who of course is the prime minister of Hungary, who's Putin's lapdog in the EU, obviously that would be taking place on his soil. Putin can't travel to anywhere in the EU
Right.
because Hungary is still, it withdrew, but for the next year, it's still a signatory to the International Criminal Court warrant. Putin has a warrant out for him.
Right.
Orban is not going to enforce that warrant, despite the fact that he's still a signatory to it. So for all sorts of reasons, doing this in Budapest is just a slap in the face to the West, including to the United States. And when the Huffington Post, the only outlet that I could see, picked up on this and emailed Caroline Leavitt and Stephen Chung, who's the communications director at the White House, and said, hey, whose idea was this to do this in Budapest? The response from Caroline Leavitt
Oh, dear.
and Stephen Chung separately, which obviously they coordinated on this, was your mom.
Oh,
Your
no.
mom. Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah.
No. I refuse
Yeah.
to accept that that's
Yes.
what
The
they said.
White House communication, who picked Budapest as the location? Caroline Leavitt responded, your mom did, and Stephen Chung a few minutes later responded, your mom. Now, these two effing morons are sitting in the West Wing high-fiving each other for this great
Right.
clapback.
Right.
And I say this to say that this is the same crew that comes up with memes of Trump dumping shit all over his constituents. It's the same crew that came up with J.D. Vance's inaugural post on Blue Sky, which was Trump crowning himself like Napoleon crowned it himself
Right.
at Reims, and with Nancy Pelosi and other Democratic leaders kneeling in front of Trump like he's their liege lord, right? Like in a very regal, royal kind of way, in a way, of course, we don't do in this country. Like, this is who we are.
Yeah.
This is who we are.
Right.
We are living in a world where a bunch of immature morons are not just in charge of the country, don't just have immense hate for all of us, don't just they have no concept of what it means to be an American,
Right.
but also living in a world where this president truly is uninterested in anything other than trolling the
Right.
people who he thinks are his enemies.
Right. Has no sense of policy, has no real understanding of the world beyond
Nothing.
the end of his nose. It's like the news this morning that suddenly they have decided, after 9 months of tariffs, oh gosh, maybe we shouldn't put any tariffs on anything that isn't grown or made in the United States so that we can actually get those things that we need from foreign countries. It somebody, you know, somebody restacked that and posted like it's economic malpractice. Like they've destroyed the American economy for tariffs and seem to suddenly only be realizing that, gosh, if we tariff people for things that we don't make here, then we don't get those things that we don't make here. It's insane. I don't understand how they could have such a poor understanding of the way the world economy works.
Yeah. And they're very they're yeah, they're they're bailing out Argentina to the tune of 40 billion with a B dollars.
Right,
And when Trump was asked, what do you make of farmers who are not being bailed out here, but Argentina's being bailed out? Trump was like, you don't get it. You don't get it, young ladies. I guess the
right,
reporter was a woman. You don't get it, young lady. They're really like, this is life and death for them. Well, maybe, but it's not life and death for the farmers who are losing their crops. By the way, Mike Johnson, the biggest row crop by acreage in Louisiana are soybeans.
same here in Indiana.
Same in Indiana. I mean, these are
Yep.
all red states. Your senators all voted for this nonsense.
Yes,
And Mike Johnson represents a state or part of a state where his farmers are going to suffer because China is buying those soybeans from Argentina. Not only are we bailing out Argentina with $40 billion directly, we're bailing out Argentina by allowing China not to buy soybeans from us because we put tariffs on them.
right,
And so they're now going to Argentina. So we're going to help. If you're an Argentina soybean farmer, you're thrilled.
right.
Right.
You're
$14
thrilled.
billion of soybean sales to
Yep.
China.
Yep.
Yeah. And not to our farmers. I've heard you say this before, and I agree very strongly that if you had tried to craft somebody in a lab to be the perfect kind of internal self-sabotage destroyer of America from within, like you couldn't have done better than Donald Trump. Um, how do you think setting aside how we literally get out of this, but like the damage that he has inflicted, it's going to take generations to, if ever, to get back to anything remotely like our standing in the world or the strength of our economy or anything. Do you have any hope that we could ever get back?
You know, Lawrence, the part that I think is depressing and the part that I think is terrifying to me is it's not that Donald Trump inflicted this damage, it's that we did.
Right,
Because
Yes.
one time was an aberration. And Joe Biden tried desperately to pretend that Donald Trump was an aberration and this was a, one-time thing and he'll never come back. The Europeans, our allies, absolutely understood that there was a good possibility that Trump could be back. And in fact, Trump did come back and did come back with the support of the majority of the voters who voted in this election. It wasn't an electoral college quirk this time. He
right,
got the popular vote.
right,
So, I just saw that the Danes stopped sharing, or the Dutch or the Danes, I forgot who, it was either Denmark or Holland, stopped sharing.
Them too. I'm so glad I'm not.
Yeah, but I forgot which one it was.
Yep.
I think it was Holland, maybe, and maybe it was the Danes. Anyway, it doesn't matter. One of them said they're not sharing their intelligence with us anymore to the extent that they were before. And I don't blame them
I don't
because
blame you either.
let's say by some miracle of God, we have a Democrat in office in 2029 again.
yeah,
who's to say that in 2033 we're not going to have another Trump?
Right. Right.
And this
Don
country
Jr.
can't,
is going to run.
this country can't be trusted anymore.
Right.
And I think from that perspective, it's incredibly dangerous. And what do you say to that? I mean, what do you say to something like that? Um, it's I don't know. I mean, we're the ones who are doing this to ourselves. It's not Trump. I mean, Trump is a symptom of whatever disease we have. I don't know if we've just had it so good for so long that we have forgotten what it could be like. It's not a coincidence that he rose just as the greatest generation was dying. People who lived through World War II as adults were pretty much gone for the most part.
Yeah.
Um, and look, we've had it pretty easy for this Pax Americana for the last
We
80
we
years.
have. No, we really have. We've enjoyed
Yeah,
wealth unlike anything else in the history of the world. And we got comfortable
yeah,
and didn't learn the lesson of every other great empire, which is that empires fall, that people get complacent and selfish and lazy. And um, that this is kind of a good segue into the class. So I have been lucky enough to be taking your disinformation class that
thank
you and
you.
Olga Lautman are
Yep.
teaching. It is incredible. I have learned so much. um, my first quick question is, are you going to offer it again? Because I really want to encourage people to
Um,
take it.
well, thank you. I don't know that we're going to offer it again. This week is actually the last week.
Right.
So I don't know that we're going to offer that one. We're talking about other classes, maybe in the early part of next year that we're going to do. As you can imagine, it's a lot of work. So
A lot of work.
we need a little bit of a break for a little bit. But we'll probably offer something similar in January. Probably more of a tactics class about how to fight back about all this stuff, because both she and I are very passionate about the notion that it's okay to have a rally in June and it's okay to have a rally in um, October, as we just did. And it's great that they are the two biggest rallies in the history of demonstrations in the history of this country, but that's not enough. And
Right.
there are lessons we can take from other countries, especially places like Ukraine and others who overthrew these kinds of, and I don't want to say overthrew violently because that's not what I'm advocating here, but people who figured out how to restore democracy in their own countries that you know that we need to do. But if you still are interested in that class, if you become a paid subscriber to either mine or Olga's Substack, you can access it on our website. You won't be able to do it live.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, the class is Olga and Julie are really digging into the role of disinformation and propaganda that Russia has been waging against Western democracies for years now. And the takeaway, my takeaway is we're in an information war with Russia, and we are losing. And not
So,
just Russia, there are other countries that are also now doing this. But um, Julie, I was wondering if you could maybe just give folks listening kind of the précis, like the
yeah,
overview.
Précis, what a great word! I haven't heard that since college. So yes, we are in a disinformation war with not just Russia, but China and Iran. It is made all the worse by the fact that the Trump administration just got rid of all of its counterintelligence people and has effectively deployed them to immigration enforcement, which is just putting us in such incredible danger, both physically and culturally. Um, our First Amendment, which I would die for, to me, it's the bedrock of what this country is, but was weaponized against us in ways that we can't weaponize other countries' freedom of speech because they don't have it. I mean, we certainly can't do that to the Chinese. We can't do that to the Russians. We can't do that to the Iranians. We can't even do that if we wanted to the Germans, hypothetically, because you can't even buy Mein Kampf in Germany. It's banned, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
um,
They very
w-
logically banned
right.
Schweitzer's The Mein Kampf. Yeah.
Right. Whereas here, you can buy Mein Kampf. And I think that you should be able to buy Mein Kampf. I own a copy of Mein Kampf because I wanted to read it. I think it's an interesting historic document that all of us should read to understand how disinformation leads to really, really, really awful outcomes.
Yeah.
But I use that as an example to say that the Russians and everybody else who wishes us ill understood very well what drives the United States. And what drives us is a free exchange of ideas. Our algorithms are designed to create strife, and our cable news networks are designed to create strife. And when you flood the zone, you end up with Donald Trump. And if you actually go through this, and I'm summarizing it incredibly briefly, but if you go through it every week as we have, it is the outcome that we have now is not only not a surprise, there could have possibly been no other outcome. And you can't blame this just on Trump. You can't blame this just on MAGA. Obama was very late to the game on this, very late to the game on this. Biden just wanted to put his head in the sand and pretend it wasn't happening. Merrick Garland, we could do a whole separate seminar on
Right.
Merrick Garland
24-hour
alone.
rant on Merrick.
Yeah. I really could do 24-hour rant on that. So, I say this, people are saying in the chat, you could buy Mein Kampf in Germany now. Maybe. You may be right. For a long time, you couldn't. So, I say all of this to say that we're in a really, really, really scary place, like very scary place. And if you are not sure of how to look for signs of disinformation, if you're not sure of how to try to identify who these people are, you end up going down rabbit holes with people you think are you just people you're fighting with on Twitter, or people you just disagree with on cable, and you don't realize that they are part of a much larger machine. I'll give you an example. You have people like Benny Johnson, who's got a massive podcast, Dave Rubin, who's got a massive podcast. These people were all paid by Russia through a cutout.
Really?
To repeat Russian talking points. Now, they claim, oh yeah, this is all public. They claim that they didn't know it was Russia. They claim they were not aware. Even if you take them at their word, they were paid $100,000, I think, a week.
Right.
To pump this stuff out. A week. To do what we're doing right now for free.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This is the thing that keeps coming to mind as I've been pretty quiet and listening is how do we win a battle when we're decimating our education system? So I feel like critical thinking isn't going to be our strongest suit. We're already suffering from it. And I keep thinking of like AI and just viral slop that we are now, I would say even in the last 6 months, it's gotten, at least in my feeds, exponentially worse. That we're used to seeing content online that doesn't really logically connect because it's just AI slop. It's snippets of TV shows that are cut sloppily so you don't know a beginning and an end. And what I'm seeing a lot of, and I got one last night in response to my a post about the No Kings rally, is like a lack of logic. And I don't know if it's a person or a bot who posted this, but they posted back a meme that was like the wolf on the Trump as a wolf on the megaphone and all the sheep in the audience. And it was like the sheep had their day. And I was like, I don't even understand what you're trying to say here. Like, are you?
They don't care. They just want engagement. They just want engagement, right? They don't care. So they will throw 100 things at the wall to see what sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And
this was on Substack too. This was not on Twitter. I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, look at they're coming to Substack. They're now on Blue Sky. They're coming. I mean, they know where people congregate, and it's a really pernicious thing, and it's incredibly dangerous. And that's how you have the rise of somebody like a Donald Trump, right? Without social media, you could not have had a Donald Trump. I'll go a step further. What's happening in mainstream media right now is very much this. I mean, I went on CNN on Friday. And I did the morning show, and the anchor asked me, why is it the Democrats don't want to give Trump any credit for this big Middle Eastern peace that he secured?
Right.
And I said, why would I? And I said, why would I give him credit? I go, why? This thing's not going to last 5 minutes. I go, why would I give him credit? I'll give him credit for getting the hostages released, but Joe Biden got hostages released also. Did Republicans give him credit for that? Said in terms of a ceasefire, There is no ceasefire. Sure enough, the next day, the ceasefire was broken.
Right.
And yet, yesterday, 60 Minutes, which to this day I think is still the best, by far, best sort of journalistic enterprise out there, ran a interview with Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff extolling the ceasefire. Well, what ceasefire? The ceasefire had been broken the day before, so scrap it.
Right. You got to scrap that news.
Scrap it. But they didn't, because Barry Weiss is now in charge of 60 Minutes.
Yep.
And she works for the Ellisons, and they're all very close to Trump. And she's got a very specific worldview. And she needed the worldview to be that Trump secured a ceasefire for the Middle East. Well, there is no ceasefire. There is no ceasefire. Hamas fired on Israeli soldiers, and Israel immediately went back in, cut off, started bombing, cut off aid, and we're back to where we were. I mean, I'm thrilled for the hostages who got released. So I don't want to diminish that. But there is no ceasefire. And now that there is no ceasefire and there are no hostages anymore, there's going to be much more bombing, because they don't have to worry about killing, Israelis who are there.
I'm sure they brought you right back on the show, Julie, to be like, you were
Well, but
so
that's
right.
my point, right? But so like 60, right? So like 60 Minutes ran this. The New York Times, which is not owned by any corporation, owned by the same family that's owned the New York Times for the last 100-something years, the Sulzbergers, who are overall doing a great job, did not put, if you looked at the front page of the Times, did not put the No Kings rally as the top story yesterday.
Right. I did notice that.
I noticed that as well.
And for anybody who thinks they can finish off Hamas, you will never finish off Hamas.
Right.
You can't. It's an idea.
Yeah.
It's an idea. You can create just genocide. You can just kill everybody in the Gaza Strip, and still, if there are any people living there, 1 or 2 or 3, they will still be anti-Israel, because the whole idea is that they're fighting over the same piece of land. So there's never going to be a ceasefire until something drastic comes along, like, I don't know, maybe Arab nations putting boots on the ground there and taking over the security of Gaza from Israel. It's never going to happen, because they don't want the nightmare of that on their heads. They'd rather have the Israelis deal with it. But that's why this whole thing was a joke, right?
Right.
And I say all of this to say, Trump ended 8 wars in 8 months. Which wars did he end?
Right.
And yet it keeps getting repeated and repeated. He's going to go to Budapest. He's going to say, we have an end to the Ukrainian war. And the press is going to start, another 60 Minutes thing about how Steve Witkoff ended the war in Ukraine. There's no end to the war in Ukraine.
Right.
Because Putin wants all of Ukraine. And when he's done with Ukraine, if he's allowed to be done with Ukraine, he'll move on to the Baltics. And then NATO is going to get engaged, except that we're not going to be part of NATO anymore at that point.
Right. Right. A thing that you and Olga are convinced is absolutely coming, us withdrawing out of NATO and not honoring any Article 5
either de facto or de jure, right? Like either we're going to just do it, we're going to officially withdraw, or we're going to just not help. Either way, I mean, Trump is not going to war for Latvia or Estonia, right? He's not going to, or Lithuania. He's not going to go to war for Poland.
Yep.
So, and yet we allowed them into NATO under the auspices, and they went to war for us. I just want to be very clear that these little tiny countries who are nowhere near the World Trade Center in downtown Manhattan, nowhere near the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., went to war when we were attacked, when we were the only nation in history to invoke Article 5 of NATO. They went to Iraq for us, and they went to Afghanistan for us.
Right. And
we're not going to do the same for them.
It goes without saying, the destruction to the trust in the United States as an ally, as a partner, as anyone that you would want to imagine having your back in a time of crisis, it's going to just it's already shattered. And that is just going to grind the ashes into the ground if we, as you said, de facto or de jure, withdraw from NATO.
It's, it's,
I keep thinking of the importance of these conversations and of independent journalism. And I'm fascinated by the state of the media right now. I mean,
This
I'm
is a good
horrified.
segue.
This is a good segue.
Yeah.
The just abject rolling over of most of the legacy media. The lack of coverage of No Kings is just one of many examples of this. The lack of truth telling around Hamas and the alleged peace deal. It makes what we're doing here on Substack so important because this is one of the only places that I go to where I feel like I'm staying informed. I'm trying to pivot to a question here that will make sense.
I mean, I think
I
it's
guess what?
Mayday, right? I think the
Yeah.
place I would go is
I'm
tell
being
us about
careful about.
Mayday and
T-
your morning show.
Oh, that's so nice for you
yeah.
guys to ask. Thank you. So
I'm
yes,
trying
so
to be careful about how this goes, but yeah, Mayday Network. Can you
the
tell
Mayday
people?
Network. So we, a bunch of us, got really sick of media, and I've been in media for the last over 20 years. So I was at Fox for a long time. I was at CNBC. I obviously am on CNN a lot and MSNBC a lot, and they're just not meeting the moment. It's awful, and I wish they were, but they're not. So I and a few other women launched the Mayday Network, which is on YouTube. We haven't done a hard launch yet. We're doing kind of a soft launch now. We started with a morning show. Well, I shouldn't say that. We started with a show called Over It that we do every Wednesday at noon Eastern. And then we do one every Saturday morning called Coffee and Conversation at 10 a.m. Eastern. And that's really great because it allows people to just email us who just literally spend our Saturday mornings with us. And there are people in your chat I see who come on our shows and to our chats all the time, which is great. And then last week we started a show called The Morning Show, which I hope you guys will come on. It's basically a literally what you hear, what you see is what you get. It's a morning show. It's at 8 a.m. Eastern, 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern. You could listen to it live. You could listen to it on YouTube after it's done. You could listen to it in the car and on Spotify or anywhere else you get your podcasts. And our whole point is, and I know this from my Fox days, Fox and Friends is a very particular viewpoint. And if you are of the MAGA persuasion, it is where you should go to get your information.
Yeah.
CNN's morning show, which I'm on all the time, okay.
Right. It
And
remains.
then Morning Joe is disgusting. I
Yeah.
don't know what else to say. I mean, they bent the knee, went to Mar-a-Lago, bent the knee, and so my attitude about
That was
Morning
so
Joe is,
disappointing. I haven't.
yeah,
I remember that. I
yeah,
feel like no one has a memory anymore, but I
well,
remember that.
yeah,
Well,
It
it
was
was the
Most Morning Joe,
you
and
yeah,
did
I was like,
on your very first day of the Mayday morning show, you did a supercut at the beginning
yeah,
of Joe and Micah talking about, we had a great conversation and you should watch this show because we have a conversation. And you very plainly said, this is why we're doing the Mayday morning
yeah.
show.
We're not Morning Joe.
Yeah.
I've never been to Mar-a-Lago. I don't think. Well, certainly not. I've been next to Mar-a-Lago, but I will never go to Mar-a-Lago. I have no desire to hang out with Donald Trump. If he ever offered me an interview, I'd take it, but it certainly wouldn't be to kiss the ring. It would be to ask him some very tough questions, like who set up that meeting in Budapest, and don't tell me it was my mom because I know it wasn't her.
Right.
There's just a complete lack of any kind of accountability with corporate media, and
yeah.
we don't care, and as I know you guys don't, because I just don't care about my next corporate merger. I don't care about whether I'm a subsidiary of a larger corporation that has to merge with some other corporation. Like, I just want to call it as I see it.
Right.
And that's what the morning show is about, but it's also what Mayday Media Network is about. So go to Mayday Network on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. Please watch us at 8 a.m. Eastern or whenever you guys get around to it. On Mayday, please listen to us on Over It on Wednesdays at noon and Saturdays at 10. And just support independent media because that's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see how this network grows.
Thank you.
I think that's that seems to be the next path forward, is taking these kinds of conversations and elevating them for more folks to find them. Substack is great, but we are a bit more of a closed ecosystem. I think you're super smart doing this on YouTube.
Thank you.
I will listen to it in recaps because it's 5 a.m. my time. But,
Well, you don't have to watch it live. That's the beauty of
yes,
it. You can just
I
watch
will
it.
be on recaps, but if
Yeah. Yeah.
I thank you for the invite, and if I will get up I will be up and camera ready at 5 a.m.
Thanks,
if
guys. I
needed,
appreciate it.
anytime for that. I mean, I'm just thrilled that you all are doing it. And with
Thank you.
Frederick Pogue, like,
I was going to say, for folks who don't know, our
yeah,
buddy, friend of the Daily Whatever show, Frederick Pogue, is
He's
one of
on.
your co-hosts.
Yep,
You,
he
Michelle, Kenny,
is.
and Frederick are
Yep.
are holding down the fort for Mayday Morning Show. And
Yep.
I've gotten up and tuned in. I mean, it's 8 a.m. at my time, so it's not that hard. It's great. You all are absolutely killing it, and you're talking
Thank
about
you.
all of the topical things. So yeah, big wishes to you for continued success on that.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for
and
having me too. This is so much fun. You guys are coming on my Substack next week, right?
We
we are.
are. Yes, we're very
Awesome.
excited. I think Dana suggested that we show up in costume because it's Halloween.
Uh,
Yes.
Great.
And I'm
I will
not
do
sure how I'm going to do that, but okay. Challenge
put on your
accepted.
costume from Saturday if you had one and come on come on over.
Right, right. Yeah, I'll try to
It's true.
go buy an inflatable frog costume, which, there must be a black market now. They're selling for like
I know. They're probably
$10.
a massive discount now, right? Put
Oops,
on your
sorry. It just clicked in there. My computer is doing that thing where it sounds like an airplane about to take off. I'm trying to grab the link to your Substack as
Oh,
well
I'll
as the
grab it.
YouTube for Mayday
Oh,
Network. But if either of you can do it, because my computer's like,
I've got it.
oh, it's doing that thing.
thank you.
Um, some mornings my computer's like, it's Monday morning, girl. What are we doing?
What time is it for you? God, it's only like it's not even 8 a.m. for you yet.
Yeah, it's 10 till 8.
Oh,
It's one day
it's
I'm
early.
going to write. I have the start of a little memoir piece about being a converted night owl. Like, if I had no obligations, I'd be up till midnight or 1 a.m. I'm one of those mid shift people, like up about 9. But for this show, my alarm started going off at 5:30 every weekday. And what that's doing to my brain, I feel like I'm being sort of rewired.
Yeah.
And it's a very strange sensation, especially since most of my memoir writing I would do at night, because that's kind of that creative time when there's, no obligations and there's
Yeah.
open path ahead and just creative juices would flow. And now I'm like, yeah, no, by like 10 o'clock, I'm just, my,
My husband goes to bed at 9:30 at night and turns off the lights at 9:30 and I'm like, "Do we have curfew? Like why?" So I I I have no choice but to basically go to bed early, but I have lately been staying up programming this morning show because I have to write the scripts and kind of program it um and I'm going on no sleep, so I'm in the same boat as you, Dana. I'm so wiped. You could hear my voice is starting to go, and it's only Monday,
it's,
which is really sad. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I literally took a shower last night because I knew I wouldn't be able to get it done this morning and fell asleep with wet hair. And what you see is what you get because I just don't even care anymore.
Right.
So,
you look great.
Authenticity sells, and that's
well,
that's what
this is
people are
the
getting.
authentic Julie. No makeup and hair that might have been slept on wet. So there you go.
It looks really good. It does not, you do not look like you have bedhead. I know
Oh,
we're
thank
getting
you.
toward the top of the hour, and I wanted to ask something. You mentioned the New York Times earlier and how they're privately owned, and that they have been forever, and that you think they're still doing a pretty good job of it. I can't remember if I heard it or read it, but I know it came from you that you were like, when the New York Times goes down, that's the end. That you sort of had this very like, we talked the last time you were on your show about what are the things to look for of like, get out.
Yeah. I
This
mean,
happens. Can you talk about that a bit more of like what makes the New York Times singular in your mind?
well,
And what is it that you would see in the New York Times that you would be like, honey, pack your bags, we gotta go?
well, I think honey, pack your bags, we gotta go. I've already been saying for a long time. But the New York Times, first of all, is still a opinion maker in a large scheme of things. Less and less, but still is kind of the paper record for a reason. The other is that, of course, it is not owned by some conglomerate. So it doesn't have to pay Donald Trump $15 million, or else it's not going to get some sort of merger approved or some sort of, Disney conglomerate thing approved. Um, it still is what it always was. Maybe not to the extent that it always was, but it still is a important paper. Now, look, they've had some major misses. I mean, major, major misses.
Like this
Hillary's
weekend.
like
Yeah.
this weekend. But I mean, I'm talking about more major misses, like Hillary's emails that he spent, or John Podesta's emails that he spent, I don't know how long talking about, um, to the detriment of this nation, got Trump elected, one might argue. Um, Certainly their lead up to the war in Iraq. I mean, so it's not to say that they're perfect. They're not. And in fact, they have contributed a great deal to the enshittification of this country. But they're still doing the best they can for all the right reasons, I think. Um, and if there's one complaint I have about the Times, it's that they are living, and I live in New York, and I'm friends with a lot of Times reporters, and I go to a lot of Times events, or I've been to a lot of Times events, and I can tell you it's a very specific Upper West Side New York City bubble that the New Yorker lives in, and the New York Times live in, and so on. So it's not like they're necessarily, then they go out to your neck of the woods, Lawrence, and they're going to interview five guys in a diner who all love
Right.
Trump, and that becomes like the story.
Right. The
So
insight. Yeah. The
yeah,
key to
like that
unlocking
becomes
the
like the
mind of
story. Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm not suggesting that there is not room for improvement at the Times. There is. But unlike CBS, which yesterday I saw in 60 Minutes, just did something that I think is journalistic malpractice, which is run a story that is completely outdated. And what you see in the Washington Post, where they just got rid of all of their liberal op-ed writers, and now it's just all right-wing conservative nonsense on the op-ed page. I mean, those are purposeful. Or for that matter, where Mark Benioff, who now owns Time Magazine, put Trump on the cover of Time about the Gaza deal with the headline, his great triumph, or his triumph, or something.
Right.
And,
Right.
I mean,
I did not know Mark Benioff bought the Times.
no, Time Magazine. Yeah.
Or sorry, Time
Yeah.
Magazine. Sorry, morning flu shot. We're just going to
Yeah.
blame those things. I did not know that. But that photo, like my hat's off to whomever.
My hat's off to the photo, but the gist of it is that Donald Trump had some massive foreign policy thing, and he didn't.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Julie, I want to be really respectful of your time. You've been so gracious in being with us for the full hour. Anything you want to kind of close out with to, obviously big shout again. Please, please, please go subscribe to the Mayday Network.
Thank you.
For Julie and her whole crew there. Let's give you the last word.
Well, my only last word is I can't wait to have you guys on Halloween. That's going to be awesome. A little Halloween special with this crew, which I'm so excited about.
Yeah,
so
I am so excited for that.
Over the Salty Politics Substack. So this will be great. I'm really excited for it. All right, you guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much
for joining us.
Yep.
Thanks to everyone in the chat for all of your contributions. We love you. Mean it.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.